I've arrived to tell you that I flunked out of high school, that I got kicked out of my first year of college, not even halfway through. As you can see, school and I were not really a good fit. Now, let's go back to elementary school. It wasn't so bad. Hunter Model Elementary School. The teachers who in training were going to work with us, and we were supposed to be very, very smart. And they did interesting programs, which 78 years later, I can remember vividly. I mean, that's education. For instance, Mexico, the floating gardens of Xochimilco. I can remember that word from 78 years ago. They were made of reeds and filled with flowers. They were exotic and they were beautiful to a 5-year-old. And then there was our teacher, Miss Rice. She had long red hair, long red fingernails. And you know what she had for lunch every day? An alligator pear. That's what we called avocados back on the East Coast back then. She would cut it in half and pry it open and prise out the pit, and in the declivities, she would pour salad dressing, and she would use the shell of the avocado as a bowl, and with a spoon, she would get a bite of avocado dressed until she ate the whole thing up. We were amazed. And then during nap time, and you know nobody naps during nap time, she would play Red River Valley on the piano over and over and over again. And with each repetition, she became more lachrymose until they finally took her away. She's indelible in my mind. I suppose this is a form of education. But then I went for junior high and high school to Fieldston, the ethical culture school. And you have to know what the cheer was. Strong as an eagle, swift as a vulture, we are the birds of ethical culture. So you can tell it was a different kind of education. And it was good. It was pretty kind of classical. And it's lucky it was good because it was the only formal education I actually ever got. I mean, we do things like writing in the style of Homer. But what I was most interested in was down in the kind of art wood shop. I was making these long scrolls of Laban notation, which is a way of writing down dance movements. Nobody knew how to do it except me. I was a dancer. And I was under the impassive gaze of Mr. Hashimoto, the shop teacher, whom I had an inexplicable crush on. But why did I have trouble at school? I couldn't finish my papers. Why couldn't I finish my papers? Because if I did, they'd see that I wasn't as smart as they thought I was. I would be unmasked, imposter syndrome. So that's why I didn't graduate. And then I had a very murky summer with a couple of suicide attempts. And my parents shifted me to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania to kind of straighten me out. And I got straightened out enough. So I said, I'm going to go to college in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. It's better than going back to the scene of the crime, which is my parents' apartment in New York City. And at Wilkes-Barre, I did not finish my papers either. I just wanted to sing and dance and kind of act out. And when they caught me in full frontal embrace with my co-star in the middle of the dorm common room, you don't do that in the late 50s, I was out. And you'd think this would be the end of my contact with schools, but my first job was at Columbia University in the transcript office. And I got a chance to go to the School of General Studies and take something weird that was dear to my heart, German. I loved that it was such a peculiar language with a spiky font, and then all these words kind of jammed into each other until you finally found out at the end what the verb was. And it worked. It was an intensive. I could read Kafka in the original. I even dreamed in German, and I knew what those lyrics of the leader that I love to sing were. But that was that until I had children, and then my first job after the children was school secretary. Now, you know, as you can tell, I don't love school, but I think I was okay. I loved the kids, and I wanted to be as welcoming as possible. You know, the school secretary is the gatekeeper, and I wanted the gates to be wide open. And this was the 70s, and things were pretty loose. And I did that for a while, but then I was finally finished with that whole school deal, except I became a magazine editor, and I had to finish my papers by writing articles. So now you should know, so many years later, when September rolls around, my heart leaps up because I don't have to go to school. I can study whatever the hell I want between book covers or in life. It's the best university in the world, and I am a proud autodidact. Thank you.